Last year, 2020, on the 4th of February, very memorable time. It was about 2 weeks after the world news of COVID broke out, and it was first, sort of detected in China, and it had spread to the city that I live in, Shenzhen, by that time. Anyway, I decided to go out and document it. And at the time, I lived about an hour away from the center of the city. So I took the metro into the center to some of the busiest places in this city of 13 million people to give you a real on the ground look of what China and Shenzhen was like at that time. Today, I'm going to be walking you around some of the busiest places in Shenzhen to give you sort of a feel of the atmosphere and to sort of dispel some of the rumors that are going on. Where are we now? We're back in that same place that we started that last video, so that you can kind of compare the differences, because times have changed a lot since then. At that time, I was looking around Huaqiangbei and there were just no people at all. Just a couple of people I was walking by. Everybody was taking the government's advice and staying inside because people were very concerned at that time about their safety and well-being. There were only very, very few shops open, just the ones that were probably trying to stay on their feet because the rent in this area is extremely expensive. Now, 14 months on, it's crazy to even think that that much time has passed. I mean, it's gone really fast, but at the same time, it feels like it was a lifetime ago that sort of coronavirus broke out. Me and my dad have talked about this before, but we feel extremely fortunate to be living in China during this time, because there are not that many countries around the world where you've been able to sort of freely travel for months around that country anyway. International travel is obviously still a problem, but in China, we've been able to travel extensively throughout the country with some troubles along the way, but fairly freely for, I would say, the past 9 months now. It was really only sort of January, February, March, April that in 2020, 4 months, and in May it started to really sort of improve from there. And going around China right now is very, very simple. All you have to do is sort of use your health code to travel around. If you are going to some sort of big exhibitions, then you may need to supply a COVID certificate on arrival. So that's why me and Dad have had nearly 10 COVID tests each at this point. But that's what you got to do to have a country that is free of COVID. So it's not a big sort of problem to us to have to get a COVID test every now and again. Now let's have a little chat about mask wearing. So as you can see, I'm not wearing one. That's because now and for a long time it has not been compulsory to wear a mask outdoors. Only about, I would say, 40 to 50% of people wear a mask outdoors now in Shenzhen. In sort of third and fourth tier cities, it's less people that are wearing masks outdoors. My dad just went to Liuzhou and he said, almost nobody was wearing a mask over there. But then you can go to some cities and the percentage is much higher, which I guess is interesting, because it's more of, it's like a community influence. It's like a mob mentality. If everybody else is, then you feel like you should have to as well. So it's not compulsory to do so, other than when you're on public transport, and there are some shopping malls and things like that where they will tell you to wear a mask when you go inside, which is not a problem at all. People in inside spaces, especially on the metro, when the air is being circulated through the metro, you definitely want to be wearing a mask, especially on the metro. That is just common sense really, because that is one of the areas where it's like a petri dish for infections. So even if somebody hasn't got coronavirus and they've got like a cold, then you might catch it. So it's always good to be wearing a mask on the metro. I think people in China will be wearing a mask for years to come, some of them anyway. It's quite a normal thing in Asian culture for some people to wear a mask, especially if they are sick. As we know, in the Western world, wearing a mask is very strange for us. as I'm sure it's gotten a bit more normal since COVID, hopefully. But I remember sort of when it started spreading to Western countries, wearing a mask became political, which was a very strange political debate. It's very good to hear that at the moment all over the world vaccines are sort of being rolled out and more people are getting vaccinated. You know, in the UK they're doing very well with it. Both of my sets of grandparents have had their first dose of their vaccine at least. My mum has also had hers, and even some of my friends that are a similar age to me have now had their vaccine. So I'm not sure what the percentage is in the UK, but it's getting there. And as for China, they are doing very well as well. It's about a 10% of the population who have currently been vaccinated. You know, China have an enormous population that nobody can sort of conceptualize the number. You know, 1.4 billion is no joke. So it's going to take a little while to get the people vaccinated. I've spoken to a lot of people, you know, my foreign friends and also some Chinese people who are actually not too concerned about the vaccine. Not in the sense of the safety of it, but more in the sense of they're not in a rush to get it because they feel safe enough in China, and it's going to be a long time potentially before international travel is still available to us. So it's almost like they're not really too fussed about it because China are doing so well in keeping it contained that it's just not something that people are really thinking about too much. But I know as soon as the vaccine does become available for me to be able to get, I will certainly be doing that. I think anything that's going to be able to allow me to travel internationally as soon as possible, I'm going to be doing. So as soon as the Chinese vaccine becomes available to me, your boy's going to be copping.